It's episode 5 of Recall on Record. Today we gonna talk about your hot takes. I literally just wrote that and sang. Now, I don't, I don't know where that was going. We're talking about hot takes in this episode of Recall on Record. You are the main event. You are the headline. You are the topic. We'll get to that in the later half of the show. Of course, we got to go through the huge. At your service, my name is Leo. This episode of Recall on Record is brought to you by Smart Giga Arena. Your training ground of greatness. Visit www.gigaarena.smart. Log in using your Smart Prepaid or TNT mobile number. Joining is free, and of course, getting into these events, winning real prizes is also just as easy. By using Giga Arena 20, you get 100 MB of data valid for a whole day, plus 2 tickets to use in any way you like. Joining casual tournaments, joining the UBC, getting in through Kings League or Queens League, and on the weekends, trying out for some gachapon. It's that simple. Again, gigaarena.smart. Check them out. They got a new Facebook page going as well. That's facebook.com/gigaarena.smart. Shout out as well to Dark League Studios, where heroes come to light, and to ASUS, Republic of Gamers, for those who dare. Let's run through the usual bits, some upkeep before we begin. Pow! Last week's episode, I think you guys enjoyed that. That was a quickly traction gaining episode, and there's a lot of smart input coming in, saying what's up to Yoshipoo. Not hating on Indo's approach to the game here. Actually looking forward to how PH imports change or impact the game of the respective teams. This may even mean more viewers for MPLID, since our Pinoy fans will likely be keeping tabs on how our imports are doing. No, that's the case already, right? Given the handful of imports we had last season for MPLID. It's not like MPLID needs help with viewership, all right? They're still the biggest as per viewership, as per league size in the world when you're talking about MLBB esports. But can confirm, yes, it should only really positively affect MPLID. There's very little downside to that, again, except for, I can't speak for them, but the whole Indo Pride situation. But the goal in the end of the day is for MLBB to be recognized as a global sport. So the whole import situation should not even be a main headline, barely even a minor talking point. It's just the way it is, right? Filipinos play a certain way. The metagame favors that. That's why we've been winning. That's why we're on top for the past few years. It's just how the game is played. MLBB Sports, global game. Evan Bonji Bod 3993. I'm getting better at reading these YouTube names. I buy it. I think Mirko and Wolf in his podcast have discussed well. Coaches are what push a team to go further than their limit. With the right guidance and strategic planning, any team can become strong. Okay, I agree. He goes on for a bit, providing actual examples. And of course, very last bit of that comment, help them navigate everything that goes on in the professional esports scene. Yes, because a lot of these players are very young. It's more than just the in-game, more than just the competing side, more than just the esports side, even as a life coach, as a guide, even after their life in MLBB sports. So, just to add a layer to that, it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. The way Filipino coaches think and the way they work fits a certain way and changes how not just Filipino athletes perform, but even athletes from everywhere around the world. So I think that's what makes them the next big import. That's what makes them such an in-demand aspect of our great game. Ayush Bish, I want Echo to be invited in the Russian tournament, Games of the Future, given their fan base. For sure. Also waiting on if ever there will be like a surprise entry. There's still close to half of the GOF 2024 roster of teams competing kept a secret, so we'll see. Mars Atilian, RQ might get a big comeback after acquiring Vren with the help of Irad, Mechanical Genius, and also think Brusco will do well in Indonesia. There's also a brewing Irad versus Kyrie rivalry that could be a thing in MPLID Season 13. Really looking forward to this. already, without even knowing what's happening locally for MPLPH Season 13, ID is already looking like, whoo, our time is definitely going to be running short. Like, where do I pay attention? What's going on here and there? This is bound to be one of the hottest first halves of any MLBB esports calendar year yet. Black Sheep, yes, confirmed Udil is now with the Homeboys. JC Seed, 2151. Actually, there's only one reason why Coach Bren left AP Bren is because of salary. Man's gotta eat. Man's gotta eat. We all have our reasons, and that is as valid as any. You look out for number one. Shelovibs, buy it. For me, PH coaches and the analysts are the true PH meta. Improvement in Renegade under MTB. Yeah, Blacklist has been known to have a very solid, robust, and rich coaching staff, and there was already greatness within Renegade. A diamond in the rough, even under Next Play Evos. I've been a fan of him for years now, so I saw that already. Blacks International did their best to unlock it, harness it, get the Hitman to the world stage, close to the grand finals even, close to even winning an MPL championship. So that's legit. Aristoteli, I'll be reacting as long as you're commenting, man. Thanks for always being part of these videos and being part of the community. Last but not least, Replied 631, Leo Calbo, YouTube video platform, Sky Blue, Manila Traffic, MLBB number one. What other obvious things you want to talk about, bro? Let's get to it. Real quick, I mentioned YouTube. You should be looking out for a new series. I don't know if it's up by the time this episode airs, but I'm rebranding Caster Coaching to Caster Class. So I'm making some changes within the format of that. Hopefully you enjoy, hopefully you pick up something from that video series. I want to do it on a more consistent basis. Check that out again. Put up a logo here for the new line of educational, informational, and instructional casting videos. It's called Caster Class. All right. There's the first episode up already. Technically first episode, but you know how it is. Okay, let's get to it. Running through some news next in our lineup of housekeeping. Let's revisit the official channels of the different MPL branches and see what kind of roster movements have been confirmed since we last checked. All right, let's take a trip to our backyard first and go through MPL Philippines roster transfer summary as of January 19. Episodes being shot on the 23rd. So it's been a few days. Not sure if there's any major updates to this yet, additions or news from all around the world. Let's run through real quick. Nets released, now with Homeboys. King Kong, Ryzen, don't know where they're going. Coach Josh, Perkziva, Innocent, released. Coach Vren into RRQ, it's been a while. Lanzo AR released, don't know where he's going. Boy at AR, now with Pro Esports. Brusco AR, now with RRQ. Goyong AR, free agent, released. Coach Ison AR, released. Cram, released. I'm hoping somebody picks up this young man. Rapidot, released with SV Esports in Cambodia. Eman, released, don't know where he's going. And Coach Theo, released, now with EVOS Esports. Irad in to RRQ. Coach G, released, free agent. Hesu and Yoshinu, released, free agents, don't know where they're going. So that's a quick run through of what's happening MPLPH side. Highlights here, somebody's got to pick up Eman. Eman and Cram, they are the current free agents that I think should have somewhere to go in the next competitive season coming up. It's just a couple of months left. Ryzen and King Kong, I trust they're going to be fine. It's just a matter of time. But yeah, I have no idea where Eman or Cram are going. What's going on? Eman and Cram and Eman. Okay, let's jump on over to MPL Indo and talk a bit more on what's happening there. Following the trend, it looks like they are in full swing of roster reveals preseason 13. And with that, it looks like this week is Alter Ego week because they have confirmed their roster. They have picked up fresh out of EVOS Taz. I'm loving Taz, man. Taz knows how to work a jungle even when they're down. We have as well Heiz from Rebellion in the gold lane joining Alter Ego. We got Roundel. There's a new face. He's a mid laner coming in through Alter Ego. We have Krite, formerly of EVOS as well. Saw him in action throughout 2023 as well. Now in Alter Ego as well, mid laner. And the Architect, Coach Sexy, formerly Onic ID, formerly BTR, now with Alter Ego as their analyst. I'm loving it. Big fan of Coach Sexy as always. Always a nice dude. Like whenever we bump into each other, always stories to share. And this one is a straight out of MPL Malaysia this time around. Let's cover that kind of news. We'll start with the big headline. Spicy Boy finds a home with the Homeboys. He's home now. The boys. Spicy Boy. All right. MPL Malaysia, they got their own transfer summaries called Transfer Heat. Updated last January 15th, so about a week ago from now. Gary and Todak, there's the Nets confirmation. We have Rizel leaving Homeboys, now joining Alter Ego as well. Super Red, no longer with Selangor Red Giants, now back home under blacklist because he was prior on loan. Super Sif, once the gold laner for Selangor Red Giants, alongside Super Red, now a free agent. Don't know where he's going. Warlord, I don't know if he's going to go back home to Indo, but he's now a free agent from Homeboys. And that's that. That's MPL Malaysia news covered for you. So we're waiting for more confirmation and news on who's going where, especially for those big names from MPLPH. Before we go into the hot takes, let's go ahead and acknowledge the fact that now MPL Brazil and Liga Latam are one. They are merging and getting reincarnated as MPL Latam. If you look back at the MLBB Esports Roadmap 2024 that was released towards the tail end of 2023 during the whole M5 twilight, I'd say the last 2 or 3 days of that, including the revisions and re-releases, MPL Brazil nor Liga Latam was a prominent part of that calendar. Yes, they did use the MPL logo to have an umbrella coverage for all that, but they stayed relatively mum. This is why they've merged that region into a super MPL. I'm here for it. I can't say for sure what's the effect on the greater region or all those countries, if this will immediately be a positive thing, but I'm sure MLBB Esports figured that this is the best step moving forward for them. And on a more micro note, on that level of competition, should this be a way to challenge RRQ Akira? I'd say no. Allow me to be biased at least for this one part, right? I think RRQ Akira will still dominate that part of the world. I don't know, man. Something about that team, or just how much I love every single individual player on that roster, that just makes me believe that they will still find a way to come out and be number one. I don't know, if something else happens, if they choke and some other superpower comes from MPL Latam, so be it. That'll be a great twist. But for now, hoping for the best for MPL Latam. We'll leave it to Enrique and the rest of the gang over there to hold down the fort. And I hope we bump into them sometime in 2024. All right, it's time. Let's go ahead and talk about your hot takes. I have to admit I'm not 100% ready to get political and to go into the details of some of these things. But what I'm going to do is buy and sell. Buy if I agree with what you're trying to say with your hot take, and sell if I disagree on whatever level, and then we'll see if there's an explanation coming from me. All right, here we go. Number one, let's take it easy. Let's start simple and slow. Ray Ash says, Ocho Gaba will be revealed in Geek Fam's roster reveal raw video.
Oh, brother!
Sell. Don't play with my emotions. Renmar Santa Cruz, what a quick jump in mood here. My kind of nerdy, this is Reptar. The biggest threat to PH era is the Philippines economy and investor interest in esports. I'll say buy, only because this seems more eminent and seems more real than, number one, us running out of grassroots talents, freshly developed talents, given the whole import situation. And two is, no matter how the meta game swings, let's say we solved part one, we solved the whole player shortage situation. As long as we maintain the high level competition locally, there shouldn't be a problem. We will always find a way to play the best kind of strat and make that work solely for us, and then come the international events, still come out on top. So yeah, that's why I'm buying this, because likely it comes from the powers that say what goes and what doesn't. The powers that say this will take off, and the powers that fund these many different teams that give our athletes an outlet to live out their dream. So yeah, I'm buying this, hoping that it doesn't actually happen, hoping that the brands and orgs locally and the landscape that we're part of stays afloat and becomes lucrative, makes money, and that way we stay on top. All right, Limart Baldesus. S1 and S2 are the best eras. Kahit di nag-champion sa M1, pero yung MSC ng AE noon from 0-100, kasi wala nakakilala sa kanila, nung time na yon, then biglang boom, bugbog sila Lemon, Just No Limit, at iba pang OG Indo players. Doon nag-umpisa ang PH eras ML. Alright, I'm seeing two different statements here. S1 and S2 are the best eras. Sell. This is very subjective. Like, it's up to you which your favorite eras are, for many different reasons. So if for Limart, those are the best for him, those are the golden days, Limart, that's on you. But I, for one, actually really like the early days of the franchise, season 4 and 5, because that's when the crowds really started to swell and grow. And yeah, those are my best eras in recent memory. And then the second statement is, dun nagumpisa ang PH era sa ML. That's where the golden age of PH MOBB started. During MSC, where Aether Main won, I'm selling. It's because I think the PH era started at M2 when Bren Esports won their first world championship. That's why I'm selling. Kenneth Miranda, it goes all downhill if Tencent buys Moonton. I'm gonna sell. I'm very optimistic about that whole situation. Actually, you know what? Whatever happens to Moonton, to ByteDance, whatever that situation is, I'm optimistic. I hope that whoever still is steering the boat takes care of this very promising, young, but popular esport. I'm optimistic, so I'm gonna sell. Mijkar Krishna, why hasn't MLBB been actively promoting women players? It seemed like the perfect time to highlight the talents of female gamers in MLBB tournaments. Okay, the statement here is, it seems like the perfect time to highlight the talents of female gamers. I can't answer the first part. I don't know. I'm not in the know for that. But I'm gonna sell, because I don't think now or any specific part in time is the best time. I think we've always been rife to encourage women to join MLBB esports. I think all the time is when we should try to promote inclusivity and diversity in our games competitive population, right? So all the time, yesterday was the best time, last year was the best time for us to, grow the Women's Invitational, to grow women in the grassroots, to the amateur scene, to the pro scene. I hope we can do better on that front. Raymar Aquino, even though PH tops at the esports scene, there are still major challenges experienced by our grassroots talents. This includes local esports exploitation, esports stereotypes, acceptance of esports as sports, and more. The success of the country does not reflect the entirety of our esports scene. I've been hearing a lot of these stories, and I have to acknowledge the fact that being in MLBB esports and having experienced the level of success that we have over the past few years, this is a privilege, right? So the best thing that we can do is to share as much of this and try to grow other parts of the esports landscape locally and if we can around the world. But yes, the focus should be within our country because we're very strong. We're winning year after year after year, but the systems within and the ways that people can grow and develop, they're not as sustainable. So we definitely need all the support that we can get. Uomi, post na naman, daming sinasabi ng mga caster laro na agad, oy, bye. These casters should stop pausing the game. They should always get back into it. Stop talking, stop chatting. Start na. This is taking a while. Just well, Zeno, Philippines and Brazil will raise the level. End of Akira era. Okay. I'm buying, number one, yes. If we do get Pinoys in that part of the world competing. And sell. Again, I told you, when it comes to RRQ Akira, my heart will always be with them. I will always believe in them. Hirandil Escultura, if VUIs and Kyrie trade didn't happen, hindi sila magiging champions. Sell. I think it's not a matter of if, but when. I guess it was perfect timing during that year and that time in MLBB Sports that Blacks International did pull the trigger, or Onic pulled the trigger. I'm not so sure who at this time, initiated it or set the parameters for the deal. But yeah, VYs have always been performers. VYs have always been amazing. No matter what team they were under, who their teammates were, they were going to find a way to win. So I'm selling. I think they were going to win eventually. Might have taken longer. It might have been more difficult for them, but it will have happened regardless. Desi Luna. The lack of amateur tournaments and government support will spell the end of PH era. No new bloods to replace the OG players means other regions will catch up. GG, MPL, PH. Okay. Number one, buy. More on the front of government support. I think for many different members of the community, we can continue to mount amateur tournaments. There are always benefactors and orgs who are willing to sponsor just to find the next big thing. But when it comes down to it, the support from the government is going to be essential. We will always need the Philippine government support if we want to achieve anything great in the long run. So that's a buy. But number two, no new bloods to replace the OG players. Sell. Because I believe that we will always find new bloods. We will always find a way to get new players to the level that they need to be to compete on a global level. So I don't think that will be the end of it. I think, again, I'll take this stand. We can continue to afford to import. And we will always be competitive, regardless. Vince Lucilio, or we're going back to this one. Women's division is unnecessary. Gender does not create skill gaps. I would like to buy and say that yes, on principle, it should be unnecessary. There should only really be an MPL, not a women's MPL, and there should only really be just one space for all of us, right? For us to share and take part in this beautiful sport. But right now, currently, it's not a safe space. It's not as enticing and not as encouraging a space for women or any other representatives, right? The LGBT, like these are parts of our community that need the extra help. I don't know if the right term is affirmative action, but I believe there is a space in between that needs to be bridged to fix what's wrong with our community, with our sport. So whatever these things are that help, the WSL, the Women's Invitational, these tournaments that are specifically for women, for these diverse members of the community, they will help eventually to make it a safer space for us to share and just become MLBB esports. So that's my piece on this. That's where I'm coming from. We need to fix what's going on. We need to make it a safer space to enter. And that's what I think they're doing right with the WSL, with the Women's Star League. That is a league that's been running for years on end now. And it's a spectacle, right? And the women there are flourishing. The women there are competing at a high level. Eventually, I hope there's a way to take that success and then marry it with what's happening on the global level, on the MPL Open side of things. I don't know how, I don't know where, but yes, I do believe and I buy that the divide is unnecessary and there are no skill gaps between genders. So that's that. We will take a few more before we end this episode of Recall on Record. Rick Vinzon, PH will sweep international tournaments. So I'm assuming in 2024. I'm gonna sell. I think in 2024 we will stumble maybe once or twice. There's a lot of major tournaments internationally this year. So if let's say there's 6, right? Wouldn't mind taking the L in a third of them. So 2 major losses, and then we come back strong for M6. At least we gotta end strong on M6. That's where that stands. So that's that, Rick. Just to wrap this up, we'll go hit this one. Jem says, my hot take is similar to a couple comments already here, so we've addressed that. MLBB is still sexist and homophobic. We can 100% do better in making this more inclusive. Esports doesn't need to separate leagues by gender. That's what I just said. And I think Jem said what I wanted to say. I did not want to jump to conclusions, but now I agree. Even on a daily level, even on my level personally, I think I can do better to be more inclusive, to be more understanding, and to be more welcoming. Yeah, we gotta get better at that. Find a way to eventually break down that barrier and get rid of these divides. To be fair, I don't know if the MPL or any other professional league rulebooks say that the roster cannot have women in it. So what's going on, right? Like, what is stopping this from happening? There's got to be a way to develop that. There's got to be a way to fix that and make it a better place. So that's it. We'll call it quits on this episode. I'll read more of your hot takes. There's like at least a few dozen more from that same post. So we'll save a few of those for the next episodes of Recall. Hopefully you enjoyed. Rayash edited this one. I wonder if by the time this comes out, gets published, he's already hit 1,000 followers, but still, nonetheless, show him some love. Give him a like and a follow at RayashG. And on my end, hope to see you guys in the next episode, all right? And follow me on social media as well. Check out my website, www.leocast.ph for more updates. And if you want to get in touch, work together, all right? Breaking news, I just had to shoot this today, like right when I saw it. It's that loading thing that Mobile Legends Esports was alluding to. And finally, here it is, confirmed. We got MSC 2024, the first mid-season cup, and the new MWI, this year's run, happening in Riyadh, in Saudi Arabia. What's happening here is it's the branding under the Esports World Cup. So this is a line of events that lead up to a culmination, still happening, I'd assume, in Riyadh or somewhere in the Middle East. And they're going in hard, man. They are not kidding around. Okay, so let's parse through the confirmed details. Number one, these 2 tournaments will indeed be hosted within Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh. So that's the Mid-Season Cup, the rebranded MSC, and the MWI, the MLBB Women's Invitational. So that's in July, and I think both are happening in July. So it would be like one ultra tournament, like one big event, right? Also, are you the craze, Danny Archer? Are you the craze? No, I'm not the craze. This is real. MSC 2024 will be giving out a whopping 3 million USD prize pool, the highest in the history of this esport. So we've been running, 5, 6, 7 years strong now? And this is the first time it's ever reached that much. Okay, check the semantics here. MSC 2024 alone. So you're not even considering what the MWI prize pool will be, which I'm sure will still be quite the handsome sum. But alone, MSC, even if you consider that there might be a wild card, because again, even M5 had the wild card and they counted some part of that prize pool towards the total. Still says 3 million. You're still way beyond what even the previous World Championships have been awarding. So that's that. There's no going back. Let's just say there's no going back. I don't know how M6 is gonna match that, or if now 3 million becomes the base. I don't know the math or the economics of what our game has become or how big we can afford to do prize pools, but I can't look back at a world where the M series will be smaller moving forward. There must be a reason. They must have done the math why MSC starts with 3 million, right? Looking at the main stage region allocation, meaning, okay, you can parse this in many different ways. You could assume that these are the countries participating, or these are the slots available. Because look, you do the math. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 represented here, with the Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, MENA, check this out, Singapore, Cambodia, Myanmar. So they're all singular countries or regions in the case of the EECA and LATAM and MENA. But consider that in the history of the MSC, again, this is a uncharted territory. It's just a rebranded tournament. It's the mid-season cup. There have always been 2 slots for the Philippines, always been 2 slots for Indonesia. Some things have changed for our friends in Malaysia and Singapore, but you know what I mean? Like, will there now be just 1 slot for the PH, for ID? That'll definitely make it spicy. And again, check that number out, 13. Also says main stage, so are we assuming that there's a wild card for the MSC as well? Are there going to be 13 invited and then 3 for the slots? Because you always have to play around 16 or 12 when it comes to major tournaments like these. So there's a way for them to actually round it out. I don't know. There's a lot up in the air, a lot of questions, a lot of mystery, but I'm fired up. And as well, same for MWI. Last year's MWA, it was still the Indo teams on top. They did fly out our Filipino representative, so they made it at least to a podium finish. Was blessed to be able to cast that with Chantel. But now, I'm expecting the competition to be even more fierce because, again, just a single slot for a lot of these teams. The women's division is definitely going to fire up. Check it out. 1 for each. Indo, PH, MYSG put together, China, MENA, ECA, NA, LATAM. Dude, I can't believe I just said that. MENA, LATAM, and NA. I don't know what the women's scene is like in ECA. A relative mystery to me, but in those growing regions, hell, even China's gonna start fielding a women's division, a women's team, the best women athletes for MLBB coming out of China, and then 3 out of Mekong. So that's a tight one right there, between Vietnam, Myanmar, Cambodia, Thailand, and putting that last country here up. I'm blanking. I can't read my flags, but yeah, no. This is as raw a reaction as it gets to this news, man. MWI, MSC, July. Dude, that's 6 months from now, but I'm in for it. I'm in for it. $3 million. $3 million. Whoo! Y'all have a great weekend. Peace.